With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Tonight, it is round 2 of this season of the Open Wheel Night here for the Precision Racing League. We're going to start with the Formula D series here at the Hungaroring. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Derek Watson, and I'm joined here tonight by Lorenzo Bonder. Lorenzo, welcome in. We're here at the Hungaroring.
No, absolutely. We are on a high downforce track, which is going to provide a few challenges. Clean air for those who have it is going to be a benefit. Everybody's going to love it. But with these Formula D cars, they do provide you some good racing. So I can't wait to see the action around the Hungarian track. I'm
excited as well. But speaking of challenging, this whole schedule this season is quite challenging for this car. So let's take a look at it and look at the schedule here. So last week, of course, we saw our race. Next week, we're at the Hungaroring. We'll be at Zandvoort next week, followed by Lime Rock Park, Suzuka, Watkins Glen, and then we'll finish the season at Spa, the Nürburgring, Summit Point, and then Silverstone to wrap off a very challenging schedule. But speaking of last week's race, let's take a look at our points. Michael Dowden come out in the lead by 3 points over Andrew Moran. Then Jake Vasconcelos and Justin Delano and Jake Faulkner round out the top 5. Brent Accord, Christopher Richards, Dave Peterson, Owen McLaughlin, and Tristan Callahan will round out your top 10. So that's a look at our points for the drivers. Now let's do the team points. Yeez Motorsports is in first place by 23 points over Eagle Vision Racing White. VHR Racing is in third, with Vulture Motorsports in fourth, and then Blown Tranny Racing in fifth. Divided by Zero Blue, Divided by Zero Yellow, Race Indigo, Eagle Vision Racing Black, and then Last But Relax Racing rounds out your top 10. Lots of colors in it to talk about. Speaking of things to talk about, though, before we get any further, let's talk about our sponsors and give some thanks out to them. So first, let's talk about Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members will also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Next up, Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid to high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver, there's something for you. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are enjoyable additions to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount code using the Precision 5 coupon code. Next up, the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products are an incredible immersion and realism addition to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Then Mecha Sim Hardware. Mecha Sim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedal sets, handbrakes, or sequential shifters, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's shop right now and get yourself up to speed. And then Moradness. Moradness is a performance-based lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And lastly, Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography will help capture your best, finest, proudest, or simply, well, maybe your worst moments out on the track. And for any hobby, and up to 8K resolution. These would be a great addition to any sim room. Go check out Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Well, Lorenzo, speaking of your best, finest, and proudest moments, let's take a look at the top of the board here as qualifying is going on. We see a small train there trying to get a draft. As qualifying is underway, we're now looking at Michael Dowden there, last week's winner. And we are, look at that little trainer. Is that effective in qualifying to have a little draft train like that?
For the leader, it is. Maybe for the second driver, might be. Actually, right, let me recorrect. For the front guy, it is. For the back guy, like third guy in the tow, might not be. It depends on the circumstances on the line that are generated by whoever's pulling the train, rather than those who are following the train. That's the tricky part. And Hungaroring is a very tight track. I think, in my opinion, is the tightest track off this season.
Oh.
Yeah, Richard's not having the best day right there.
Speaking of tight tracks, we saw an example right there, and he had a hard time getting to the corners. That was scary right there. Well, speaking of best moments, for the second week in a row right now, we have a Michael up on the top of the board, but a different one this time. It's Michael Diaz currently on the pole at a 1:44.475. A little less than 4 minutes left here, so a lot of time, Lorenzo. Where on this track, in your opinion, is the most opportunity to gain time in a qualifying run?
Good question. Of Hungaroring, I would say second sector might be the biggest one. Maybe the transition from the second sector to the third sector might be the trickiest part of the track, because you're going through the change of the motions or the directions quite quickly, and because of that, it can load up the heat on the rears, and because you're loading up the rears, you might have a more loose car when coming out of the second sector, entering the third sector, where it is just outside, I think, turn 13, if I remember correctly. So things can be a little bit more risky. The first sector is easy, but it's hard for you to make a mistake if you completely overshoot turn 1 and 2. So, but in terms of difficulties, those are the two more difficult parts of the circuit for me.
For sure. Well, speaking of people who are figuring it out, I just saw on the side of your screen here, Dave Patterson just jumped up to P8. Watching Jake Faulkner here, though, he's going to try to make a run. His best so far is a 1:45.020. That puts him in P6. So he's trying now to best that and get a P5 in this run here. About 2 minutes and 20 seconds. He makes through some of the winding corners here. See that word driven on the side of that car. That's an awesome word to have, because you need to be driven and full of passion to do well in this league. This is a league full of top tier drivers, Lorenzo.
It is, like you see Moran, Michael Diaz, who had actually a really good season, I think a few seasons ago, and had a great promise. Seen Jake Vasconcelos, step up to the plate. Really good driver. Of course, we all know that the domination of the championship is by Michael Dowden, Moran, and Vasconcelos in the East Motorsport. Top 3 from the same team. Now Faulkner having a little bit of an issue. Massive wiggle coming out of the final corner. Can also be loaded. It's uphill as well. So you're clipping the inside, and you want to be moving towards the outside portion of the curve as much as you can. It's Michael Diaz, from what it looks like, improved on this lap and did a 44.3 from what it looks.
Yeah, we'll watch Justin Delano here come around these final corners, trying to best that 1:45.603 he said. This would be a close run, but not enough, about 7/10 slower. I did notice as qualifying is ending, Lorenzo, that the sun is coming out. That'll slow down the track just a little and make it a little bit more slick, right?
It might. It depends on the how wet this track is. If there's one thing, whenever they race on Formula 1 back in mid-May, mid-June, actually, is this track can be very, very going to go 2 ways. If it becomes some humidity and actually downpours on the track, the tarmac, it's not the most pleasant for drivers to drive around in. It doesn't provide you a lot of grip. This is a high downforce track, pure high downforce track, so it's very easy to get washed away. So you need to be very thorough with your inputs and your patience, especially if you're chasing someone. Of course, lower tier cars don't generate the high downforce load that I would say the Mercedes AMG W13 or the 12 would generate, but it's still enough for you to upset the rears if you overdrive way too much, as Diaz is not going to make it better on his time. Up to Moran. Will he fare?
Yep, this is the last of the runs.
Oh.
A 144.294. That is a new pole sitter at the last second. He decided to wait and drop the mic at the end. Said no one's going to top that. I don't think there's very little time left. Only people on the track. Here's Jason Arensberg, currently in P12 with a 145.708. We'll watch him come around the track here, see if he can do it. But what a move by Andrew Moran. See, I went out there at the last second and threw down a pole sitting lap. Remember that lap and that pole specifically does get you a bonus point in this league. Here comes Arensberg around here. 143, 144, 145. Nope, it's going to be slower. 146, 163. This will be Frankie Arvello, currently in the top 5 right now. And he's going to try to best a 144.666. What an auspicious number there.
Yeah. Especially with the place that in the country that had its fair share of, devilish things.
So here we go. We are just about done. Just going a couple more. Michael Diaz is going to get one more run. I didn't think he would, but apparently he got across the line before time expires. He's now going to get a chance here. I was wrong. He's going to get a chance now to come back around on Moran and see if he can push. Wiggle. Yeah, massive wiggle means he's probably not going to get there. And there's Moran again. Moran's also going to get a run. I thought both these guys crossed at the zeros, so I was surprised here. But with Diaz's wiggle, Moran has nothing to worry about unless he's going to try to best his own time here. Of course, one of the Yeez Motorsports drivers currently up in P1 in the team standings, and that was not a better lap, I can tell you that, based on that little bit we saw right there. Well, that should end qualifying. We'll wait for our grid to go ahead and load up, and we'll go through our grid for tonight's first race here at the Car Ring. Of course, after this, we'll do the Formula C cars, or the F3 cars. Those will be at Bathurst. That'll be quite the contrast to this race. But whenever the grid is ready, we're going to load it up. There it is. Andrew Moran takes the pole to 144.294. Well, quickly, as we get ready for the lights to go on, Lorenzo, what is your key to victory for this race?
Break away as fast as you can in the front. Don't be stuck way too much following the draft of other drivers over here. Rears get loaded, so let's see those who get patient under the draft and if they're not overly aggressive, trying to commit for overtakes.
There it is. Well, the green, the lights are on, and the start of the race has happened. And look at this. People already dig into that one side of the track to be screen right. They're going to make the swerve here and go right and left. We'll get a big pack here. 2-3 wides. How we're going to enter turn number 1 with a battle up front. 2 wide. They're now 2 by 2. Oh, big spin. Oh, that's going to be no good.
Vasconcelos.
I believe that to be Vasconcelos. You're right. And he got hit by at least 2 drivers I saw. So not only would that mess up his race, it's going to mess up a couple others. And he's going to have to tow right there and get back to pit road on his own accord. Wow. From what a great run that was up in the top 4, top 5, now to be on pit road in turn number 1. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the lead here. And we're going to see, oh, there's another car spun. Who is this? That's a different driver there. We're going to see who that is in a second, but he seems to be okay. Maybe to hurt pride, but the car looked okay. That's going to be, oh, that's Arensberg. I apologize for not recognizing the paint scheme. So he is now well behind the field, but the car looks okay, Lorenzo.
Yeah, from what it looks like, it's just more a natural mistake. Of course, cold tires in those cars they do get more lively than other cars. By the way, the car that got involved in these moves was nothing more, nothing less than the championship leader, Michael Dowden. So he's probably going to get a DNF in this race, and in the championship battle, this is going to hurt him quite a little bit. Of course, there's some trouble points maybe to consider down the line.
Yeah, I said Vasconcelos earlier, right? It is Michael Dowden, I believe, is the car involved. Let's take a look at it here. It's going to be on the inside of this corner. Just caught the curbing, I think. No one hit him, and then is that a Rensburg? I think you hit him right there, right?
It did. Yeah.
So that might explain why Rensburg's having some problems of his own. But there you go. That's what happened in turn 1 here. It happens quickly in these cars. All right, we'll just come back around for our lead here. You see everyone's kind of single filed out. They're all going to try to bide their time. But you're right. That's big championship implications. Not only was that your points leader, Lorenzo, who was in that wreck, that's Yeez Motorsports. They were top of the boards by 23 points in the team standings. That will affect their outcome of this race.
It will be, and I think what is going to happen is going to bring the championship battle a little bit closer, given the fact that Valo and Diaz are having really good results so far in P2 and P4, respectively, for the Precision Racing Esports team, which they did have a lot of things to celebrate in the first round, and unfortunately were held back a few spots. That's why you can barely see them into the top 10. As we're looking to Austin Harris now fending off Aldridge and Harris, a good kill. This is basically this kind of track. You're always going to be under the draft, maybe, because you're not going to be with high-powered cars, high-powered downforce generating cars. So it's easier for you to follow the draft, but it's hard for you to overtake. It's not why people say maybe Hungary might not be the most exciting race in terms of action within the F1 calendar, but it is one of the, if you can follow the toe and just be patient, work your lines, it can provide you some really good racing. So I'm really looking forward to see what Moran has in store to fend off Diaz. What does Diaz have in store to try to maybe battle them as they're going to turn number 1? And Diaz, just being patient, see if we can actually see Arvelo as being, the 4 guy, the 4 horsemen fight between Yeez and Yeez Motorsports and Precision Racing Team.
That's right. When I think about passing at this track and I think about the history of the track, it's because it's so hard to pass here and passes don't happen often. There are some drivers who refer to this place as Monaco without the barriers because of how hard it is to pass here. So there's a big split opinion in the real life driving community about their opinions of the track. But something to note as well, you do get a bonus point for fastest lap here in the Precision Racing League. Oh, hello.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
McPherson, no.
That's Kevin McPherson in the 26. He just got lifted off the ground, Lorenzo.
Yeah, from what it looks like, looked to be Cody Precker making that contact with
hold on.
And there's a car upside down. I'm like, God.
It was not a parking spot. I don't know what that was. We'd wait for a replay to see that. And not just off, but literally upside down, and the wall was like holding him up. Hold on, there's another spin. Wow, it's getting crazy here. Right about the 30-minute mark here of this Formula D race. That's Austin Harris, who we saw in the battle earlier.
And because, like I said before, Sector 2 is that part of the track where
wants to rejoin.
Going to be loaded. Yeah, wants to rejoin. The one thing you really want to is like bring the attention of Connery Maddock out of somewhere. Let's look at McPherson.
Looks like the driver on the inside was never going to make that stick, I don't think, Lorenzo.
I really want to look for, I think that's Sprecher that was on the inside battling with them. But from what it looked like to be, is that thing of you try to glue to the inside. You can kind of go into it, but then again, I think at the same time, McPherson didn't give a lot of room. Be side by side, but then again, that corner kind of funnels in. You for GT cars, that probably would have been the natural move. Just stay glued to the car on your right side. But unfortunately, these are open cars and they operate differently than anything else. So like I said before, you have to be patient. You have to calculate your moves accordingly and do not get bogged down by these moments of uncertainty, especially with cars. Like I said before, do load up a lot of the rears. This part is very loose, so you have to have a lot of car control. And for some drivers who are not prepared with this track, it bites, and when it bites hard from the race center, so they have to be patient about it. As Callahan now dropping off the board, probably a lot of issues to the number 76 car.
Yeah, still stuff we haven't seen yet. I think that was Delano, you're right, who was flipped upside down. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that later or not. Wait and see. But speaking of patience, look at this. Michael Diaz still right there with Andrew Moran. Even though Moran set the fastest lap of the race last time by, Diaz is right there. This is, I'm going to bide my time. I'm going to wait for that moment to make a move here and see what happens. As you said, in real life, this track is more entertaining when it's wet. Of course, right now in the iRacing service, that is not an option. Hashtag soon, TM. What we're being told.
TM. It's very important that we mention the TM.
The TM part, yeah. So, there's another lap unfold here. About 27.5 minutes left here around the Hungaroring. Your top three has been pretty consistent. It's Moran, Diaz, and Vasconcelos. All really within, I mean, what, a second of each other. That's pretty impressive to see how close these guys are.
Yeah, it's like I said before, they do not generate a lot of downforce. This probably would have been one of the corners where, like, let's just say a IndyCar or like the IR18, the IndyCar IR18 or the AMG car, whenever they would drive around this track in their respective series, would get washed off quite easily because it's hard for you to follow around the curve. It's indeed that Formula D or Formula C cars is much easier because there will be not of our aero load, but you're going to be coming out into the corner and be washed off, so you can kind of drive it more smoothly than anything else and not be overly concerned. But then again, it's a patience thing. You cannot break away from the jump. If Moran breaks away before the pit stop comes, Diaz is going to be a world of trouble. I think that what Diaz is doing is just playing a field game and going for maybe an overlap, like with the uppercut instead of the undercut. Like, you know, some drivers try to do over here and can work.
Yeah, that's part of that patience you even talked about, is sitting back there, maybe saving some fuel, and you'll have a little less of a pit stop on, or a little less need for gas on the stop. But speaking of patience, never mind. Here comes Diaz to the inside and is going to complete that pass here. Barely. No, hold on. I spoke too soon. Going to be side by side here. Now, Diaz will have the no. It's a beautiful set of racing right here, Lorenzo. Nice finesse. Oh, hold on. Never mind. Oh, he spun him. Oh, no. That is Andrew Moran spun and sitting there. What has been a great race for Moran to spun around and is now out of control due to some contact with Michael Diaz through that corner, Lorenzo.
Yeah, unfortunately, going through turn number 2 and 3, what happens is, I think Diaz took the right line, you know, just go for a wide arc, approach itself kind of smoothly on the outside. That outside portion is slightly off camber, so you would get a lot of grip coming to the outside portion. But given the fact that Moran committed into the inside of the corner, they merged together, and unfortunately, right there, you're gonna see now, you get the grip and they come together. So making the contact, that is, I'm probably gonna say this is not on Diaz. So this is that hard one to judge. I can see this going to Diaz's way. I'll be punished. This could also go to as a racing incident. I'm not the steward to make that decision, but that's just some hard racing right there, and a fortunate event for Moran right there, but still within 4th place, of course, more than 10 seconds back, and wondering if he has picked up some damage within that number 4 car. With the number 99 car, and make things worse for the East Motorsports driver. But this is not a day they want to remember so far.
No, definitely not. But I think the important topic is one you brought up there, which was damage. I mean, all things considered, for open wheel cars, for Diaz and Moran to make contact like that in that spot they did, They both got away, honestly, with, better than expected damage in my mind. I was expecting one or both those cars to be out of this race just from the contact. So while you don't want to see contact like that in an open wheel race, I think both made out okay. Speaking of passes in turn 1, there's a wide attempt. Almost clipped him in there in the back, Lorenzo.
Yeah, Hubbard nearly clipped the back of Potter right there on turn number 1 and brings the driver behind him closer, going through turn number 2, but looks like it is basically one following the another, just waiting for the mistake of the other driver to try to make it overtake, but Potter taking more tighter lines and Herbert taking more wide lines to try to, circumvent around the track. But so far, really good racing at the back between the drivers, and every point matters over here at the Precision Racing League. So can't wait to see what they have in store.
Yeah, definitely can't wait to see what they have in store, and we're going to watch a battle here. This will be Dave Peterson and Brett Adoro right back in. There's another attempt to dive into a corner, but backs off it, thought better. That whole patience topic you talked about earlier, that's so appropriate because patience applies to so many things. When you make a pass, how you make a pass, is it the right time to make a pass? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Maybe you can stick your car in there, but maybe sometimes patience is the better idea, so you have a race car to finish this race with.
Yeah, not only that, you're going, like I said, you're going to tracks that can be very tricky on the navigation of the driver. Can catch you off so many ways in there. So you have to basically be patient. You have a lot of racing to do. You have still to be mindful about the pit stop, so you can kind of like do some real life strategize. It's kind of like playing a real life RTS but with video game, but with sim racing involved. Of course, It is not the 20-minute length that you would get in the official Formula D series, the IR04 Challenge series, or even in the other series per se that are involved in this car, where 20-minute races are sprint races and you don't have to be concerned about fuel, so every ground that you make has to be more immediate. Over here you can be a bit more patient since you're doing basically double the time. So because you're doing that double the time, you can kind of like plan more accordingly how you race will pan out, not just from the start all the way up to the pit stop, and then after it with the proper fuel strategy once you get into it and drive.
You can. I think that also depends on the track, however. At a track that's easier to pass, like next few weeks, we're going to go to places like Spa or Watkins Glen where it's easier to pass. I think the time is a little bit more on your side as a driver to make a move. But at a track like Hungaroring, where it's hard to pass, it's hard to get around people, that's why we see people so aggressive at that start where they were 3 and 4 wide in the back of that field, because they knew that that was the moment they had, the one opportunity, the one shot, the one opportunity, to quote that Eminem song, to make everything and seize everything they ever wanted. That was their opportunity, and now here we are, just kind of riding. And as you said, the next shot here in my mind is the underpass and the overpass on pit road.
Yeah, for example, like you're seeing Dave Peterson right now doing his pit stop, the first guy actually doing that kind of cut, and it will be not of a lot of time within the pit lane itself. It's an 80 kilometers pit lane. It's also one of the shortest pit lanes in terms of length itself. Given the fact that the track nature, it's not the highest. It's not the biggest track in the whole calendar, so it is more like that in stone to see what's going to happen. Meanwhile, we're looking into Moran now after that contact, having to come down from Faulkner. Faulkner actually has solid race so far, keeping that top 5, and again, that is basically another top 5 for Faulkner. So it's going to be quite of an interesting race for him to continue, give him a little bit more of a boost in terms of the morale.
Yep, and that morale is so important. As you said, I mean, all things considered, Moran is still P4. What an incredible thing that is to say, given that contact he had about 10 minutes ago. A lot of times when we see that kind of contact, you'll see him drop out of the top 10 or top 15, but he managed to grab that car pretty quickly and keep it moving here. So about the 19-minute mark, Andrew Motoran is still in P4. The thing we never talked about, by the way, we've been so busy with the midfield and all the racing, Jake Vasconcelos was the beneficiary of all that chaos, because he is now P1. He is P1, and he has turned the fastest lap of the race. He has set himself up for so many points out of this race, and a chance maybe to do well here.
Yeah, but he has to fend out from Diaz already, covering that inside of his car into turn number 5. And fortunately for him, you can see that did it go for it? You can now see the last lap over here on the bottom right of your screen, Derek. That the gap between them is really close. 0.3 of a second nearly separates them on the lap brownie itself. But you can see Diaz now trying to be patient. He said a 3-car fight is now a 2-car fight, and now he doesn't have to be overly concerned about not only defending but also attacking at the same time, and basically let his skill do the work.
Yep, that's right. He can now be patient and wait and see. Of course, getting up to the car and passing the car seem to be two very different things here with these Formula D, Formula 4 cars. So we'll wait and see if or when that can happen, or if it happens because of pit stops. But here's a battle back for 13th. This is Donald Olson and Eric Evans back here. You saw there's the relative to each other right there on your screen. You see they're both racing hard here. You see the matching paint schemes, or nearly identical paint schemes. Can make it hard in this league to tell who's who sometimes, but here they both go through the corner here. These are teammates trying to fend off another car behind them. All right, now here is a pit stop that's worth noting. This is Andrew Motoran. He is currently P7 through the pit cycle. And we'll see a couple cars here on pit road. I think most of those other cars are damaged cars sitting there getting repairs. But here we come. Here's the pit road battle, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's staying a little bit longer than usual. 11 seconds for him, as he's probably going to get ahead of Dowden. Dowden coming back into the track, unfortunately for Dowden. Cannot go through, even despite being several laps back. So that is the race over for his teammate in the East Motorsport. But looking forward to see what the championship contender in Moran has in store with his car now fully repaired, nearly making contact is Evans, and from what it looks like, Olsen going to turn number 4.
That was tight. That was super tight. I thought for sure we were going to have a spin out there, and with there being a few cars behind them, that would have been mass chaos as far as the contact and the calamity that would have occurred there. But we keep racing on. So Moran's sort of the first driver up there on the board, at the top of the board at least, who has pitted into 11.4. Let's remember that pit delta, and then we'll wait and see. Let's remember that time and wait and see what everyone else does. We'll see if Moran can make up any time or what he's going to do here. Right now we're seeing a beautiful battle back here in the field. See some great camera shots to show you how close it is. And I believe that is Moran in the background there, trying to get around these cars. It almost looks like he maybe pitted at the wrong time, Lorenzo, and put himself in a bunch of traffic.
You mean Moran?
Yeah, you see him there in the back of the shots.
I think Moran is out of the... Moran has to consider himself for top 5. This is what he has to be mindful of, maybe moving forward. And yeah, if he's thinking about top 5 at the end of things, this could hurt him quite a lot, given the fact that the other drivers have to pit, and they're not on the same fast pace as Moran is, or normally provides within his car. So he has to minimize the damage whenever Brecker, Faulkner, or Valo, potentially also McPherson, depending on the crash itself. They're not far. Like Faulkner, Brecker, and McPherson are nearly separated 2 seconds from one to another. That is not a lot. If you make a mistake, you basically bring one of the guys closer to you, and now you're in battle. For example, now Brecker is under a second on in terms of being ahead of for McPherson. So this proves of dynamic races and being mindful of what you need to do. So this could help him depending on if they come together and start fighting.
It could indeed. But yeah, I mean, right there when Moran came out, anytime you undercut or overcut a pit stop, you're always hoping to come out and clean traffic and get some good lap times in. Of course, he was not there at first, so I'm sure a little frustrating for him. But now you see him down here, takes the inside corner into one. Did not want to keep giving that draft, I suppose, and
that's
now runs it wide.
actually.
That's Vasconcelos, you're right. And this is the battle here. This is the battle between himself and Diaz. Did not want to give that draft any longer. And these guys are going to fight hard. They have not pitted yet. Keep that in mind. There's still a pit stop incoming. So that gap they have of almost 10 seconds, that will disappear for at least a little bit whenever they finally decide to pit. Look at them here, still side by side, Lorenzo, coming up this hill and through these corners.
Coming up the hill through turn number 5, actually, Vasconcelos covered the inside again, coming to the line of the corner, basically just to try to, get some arrow push into Diaz front wing. Fortunately for Diaz, not too much, but now mistake from Vasconcelos on the chicane right there could potentially bring Diaz closer. But then again, the sector is so twisty, so tight that it's hard for you to approach. So like I said, for Diaz, just trying to be patient, do not go within contact like he got into Moran a few laps back, and play the game, just playing that mind game and see where and when maybe Vasconcelos falters or just come out on the bottom side of things if he finds an opening at the end of things. I'd like for Diaz.
At least one more time around, no pit stops here. I've got to think in my head that the play for Diaz at this point is you're going to have to take a little less gas because you've been drafting most of this race. So maybe the spot to overtake here, to pass, is to get close in one. We're going to ride on board here for a second, but you got to think in your head now, Lorenzo, the best shot Diaz has is to beat him on pit road.
Yeah, or if Vasconcelos falters into, making turn number 1 appropriately, and then Diaz gets the better run, within the draft itself. So you can expect, like, there you go, Diaz Vasconcelos covering the inside again normally, but trying an overtake here in turn number 5 it's deadly. Yeah, I've never seen drivers, even in GT cars, trying that kind of a move. So unfortunately for them, is not an option for over here, but well, you can cover nevertheless. Is what happened to McPherson in the pit lane? I saw him coming, I think, on the previous lap. Did he come again?
I'm not sure. I wasn't watching, but speaking of things that have happened since the pit stops have started, Andrew Moran has reclaimed that fastest lap award. That's why his name is in purple on that ticker on the left side of your screen with about 10 minutes left here. We're going to come back around here. I'm surprised how long these front two are staying out. I'm going to think any time now those pit stops will occur. So we'll wait and see. They're going to come through the corners. And again, Diaz is following behind, saving a little bit of gas. They are not going to pit this time. Waiting for that moment now as they're going to approach just over 10 minutes at the line here. These guys currently hold a very, very comfortable lead of almost 10 to 15 seconds over the top 5.
Oh, absolutely, and providing some really good racing so far. No, I don't like Vasconcelos covering that much of a line going to turn number 1, because you open up the door for Diaz to, if he's smart enough, just go for the up, over and under, a move of sorts on the exit out of the corner. You probably would have more grip and more action for you to do any kind of, thing going to turn number 2, 3, and 4. But like I said, Diaz is just playing that chess game of seeing, if they falter, I did not see that one coming though.
Yeah, kind of a surprise from the camera angle we had, but very quick, sudden movement to avoid that car that was being lapped by the leaders there. Yeah, that was a surprise to us, maybe as much as it was the drivers involved. But man, Jake Vasconcelos took advantage of that contact earlier between Diaz and Moran and has not backed off the lead since then. So obviously he understands the point and the value of clean air here at the Hungaroring.
No, he does, and he's making a really good work out of it. It's just a question of if he comes in the same
Derek Watson, Lorenzo Bonder. There we go. There's our live racing, and I think our pit stops may be underway. I don't see anyone. We'll take a look at a moment and find all of our drivers while we get our cameras reloaded here.
Oh, they're pitting. They're pitting.
They are pitting. That's not a surprise because you had to think it was coming any moment. Look at them side by side off a pit road, and they're gonna literally how they're gonna exit it. Gotta be careful, guys.
Nice, Diaz.
I think Vasconcelos backed off because of the merge line and didn't want to eat the penalty, and Diaz took advantage of it right there.
Diaz decided to be the Rubens Barrichello of the Michael Schumacher Barrichello incident, if you ever want to call it like that. Yeah, but instead of, fighting until they go to the pit lane wall, they can fight inside the pit lane line. So fortunately for Diaz, just breaking away, and now Vasconcelos, the hunter, with roughly about 6 laps to go, 6 laps to go here in this race. So looking forward to see what Diaz has in store to try to break away. He has the pace, of course. We've seen him fight for wins many times before. So what does the Precision Racing Esports driver will do to fend off the number 10 of Vasconcelos?
Come back and take a look here at Kevin McPherson, a native of Indiana here in the United States of America. Racing down here and towards the middle to back end of the field. It's currently running P11 is where he's standing right now. Currently being chased down there by Paul in the number 7, which you know what it is, that nice blue looking car. A seafoam green, if you will, but nice paint regardless. Well, here we are, Lorenzo, about 6 to 7 minutes left. Our pit stops are done. All that conversation is over. Now all there is to do is one thing. Shut up and drive. That's all you got to do as a driver now. Whatever adjustments you wanted, whatever changes you wanted, whatever new tires or gas or a moment to breathe, it's over. Now you have one opportunity, and it's just to sit here and race and see what happens.
Like a certain rapper would say, you have one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. So, where these drivers are slightly not different as we look into Brecker now defending from a cord and trying to break away from the draft out of the number 151 as they come to turn number 1. The East Motorsport driver just doing a really solid job so far as now cycling back to P15-ish. As now Duhamel
11 and
Evans at the
15, 16. Yep, sorry, you're right. I cut you off there. I apologize. Duhamel and Evans back there, P15, P16. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Michael Diaz leading Jake Vasconcelos. It's still that way, and it'll be a very tight battle, I guess, for the next 5.5 minutes here. But look at this here. That is the gap for our lead. And it makes you wonder if Diaz is going to be able to pull away with it, or if Vasconcelos is playing cat and mouse and waiting for the moment to pounce. We'll have to wait and see how this finishes here. I think probably Diaz has this line. So far, the leading car has been in control of this race.
I think Diaz has always been in control of this race of sorts. Whether Moran or Vasconcelos likes it or not, he's breaking away. He's gonna, I think, put 2 more tenths, roughly to nearly 3 tenths of a second, on Vasconcelos, and now it's gonna be, even though it says Vasconcelos last lap was 4 tenths faster, don't take that away. That gain of Diaz going to 7 tenths of a second was much more considerate than anything. With about 3 laps to go roughly. So it's going to be interesting because I think now Diaz has the driver's seat of dictating how this race is going to go. I don't think he's going to go defensive over here on the inside. He's just like trying to break the toe as best as he can, just picking that middle line, which I would do in a normal official race. Just try to stick to that middle line. He's not going to cover the inside for an overtake. That means Vasconcelos, but now the second sector is more tricky. What does Diaz have in the book? It looks like Vasconcelos' car is more set up for the second half of the track instead of Diaz's.
And when we're watching this onboard here and you watch Vasconcelos take different lines to the corners or exit later or just do different things, do you feel that's a positive or is that a negative for Vasconcelos?
It is a positive, you know, he's not loading the car on his rear, he's not overloading the tires itself, so he's just playing it cool. And you can see he kind of opens up into the more twisty corners, but the fact he is opening up more into those twisty corners, it's kind of like this. You commentate on NASCAR, so you probably notice it's trying to, you know, be as close as you can towards the other guy's track, but you're not within the full car in the back, you know, so you get that arrow push, let's just say, into Kansas light track or anything like that. This is pretty much the same, you know. You're still within the draft, but you're not get pulled out of the air.
Yeah, of course, that's the difference this week. NASCAR being at a super speedway. Look at Diaz that went to the inside. Vasconcelos going to try to make it through here, and he tries the undercut, and I think he might have a shot here through the corners. They look to be side by side. Here's the big pass, 2.5 minutes.
Movie before.
And we've seen this before. That we saw this about, what, 35 minutes ago. We saw a bit of contact, but no Oh, hold on. Oh, man. I started saying no contact this time, and he almost proved me wrong, Lorenzo.
Yeah, now covering the inside is Diaz coming to turn number 5. There is a car in front of them, wondering which car that is, as they make clear usage and clear escape from the back marker. Now going to the second sector, and now we're going to see those drift lines again from Vasconcelos coming into the corner, and I can guarantee the next lap is going to be the final one. So it's all setting up for the number 10 in the East Motorsports driver to try to claim the victory away from the Precision Racing Esports driver in the number 17 of Michael Diaz.
And if you don't think Vasconcelos doesn't want this, you missed that moment ago. He used the curb so hard, he had 2 tires off the ground, trying to find every inch, every millimeter, every centimeter, every whatever unit of measurement you want to use to find time here on Diaz. But here we come around, as you said, probably the white flag, definitely the white flag this time. Now at 1.5 minutes to go. So Barney to flag him in. We'll put the white flag out. Telling the drivers they have one more shot here, one more lap before we call it a race.
And he cleared that half a second gap before turn 1. No, this is now Diaz race to lose.
Yeah, it felt like at this point, hold on. Vasquez is going to try to send it in. So this is a big part of the gap here, now out of this corner. And then they're going to make the big sweeping right-hander here. We'll make a left-hander up here. But yeah, Vasconcelos is looking to have a hard time closing that gap here. And looking now, getting, watch those hands move. You can tell now he's pushing because his hands are moving a lot more than they were a few laps ago, Lorenzo.
Yeah, he's working that car a little bit more, you know, stressing it out the tires a little bit. If you want to try to stress towards the edge portion of this race, he has to be now where, you know, crunch time where he cannot allow to make mistakes. But now Diaz with a very good exit at turn number 5, going into 6 and breaking away the best he can. And now 0.4 of a second is going to take a miracle for Vasconcelos now to win.
Well, a miracle indeed is almost what we're looking at here. Maybe a small slip up by Diaz could cause it, but that's what Vasconcelos is hoping for. But he's going to push. Give him credit. He's not going to give up here. At one point, inherited the lead after contact between Diaz and a teammate of Vasconcelos, and then Andrew Moran. Moran, by the way, up to P5, has the fastest lap of the race, but the battle for the lead is right here. This is that moment. They're both going to come through this big, winding, almost 180-degree corner. For the final time through here, here they come. And for the second time in a row, it'll be a Michael winning the race, but it'll be a different one. But this week, it'll be Michael Diaz claiming victory here in the Formula D race at Hungary. A great move, Diaz. The race will end up being that move on pit road to squeeze there. We'll watch some other battles come across the line. That'll be, I believe, Moran in the background if I see my cars correctly. Ooh, a nice tight battle to the final corner. Someone got shoved wide.
That is actually a Cord. A Cord had a major issue. Was, I think, in 6th place, dropped himself back to 8th place, and nearly lost the position to Peterson on the line.
We'll watch as the final cars come around here to this big winding corner. What an incredible race that was. We're only halfway done, Lorenzo. We're going to talk to some drivers go through some results, and then we're going to load into Bathurst. And I think that's where the chaos will begin.
Oh, yeah. You mean chaos as like you're seeing that as a compliment, aren't you?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, fair point. Still, it looks like to be a few more battles. I think at the very, very back of the field from what it looks like. But yeah, like Bathurst is with the F3s. I can pretty much say it's not for the faint of heart. And trust me, I've driven million times around Bathurst, like open wheels, GT cars, supercars. It has no comparison. Like Bathurst is one of a kind track, and for F3 car, Formula C cars, whatever F3 cars, whatever you prefer more calling it, it's tricky. You know, it's not going to be easy. You need to map.
One. Well, it's time to have some conversations, and there's one I'm interested in having, so let's just do it now. I'm going to bring him in. Michael Diaz. That's a P1. Congrats on your win here in the Formula D series.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, thanks. It was a cool, fun race. Had a little incident there. Got to look at it. Not sure what happened, but overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah, so I think that's the elephant in the room to ask you about. And I know you said you've not had a chance to look at it thoroughly, but just first instinct, how you felt in the car. What do you think happened between you and Moran?
I think it was iRacing magnetism. All of a sudden, it was fine. Then I was stuck to his car, just pulling towards his. I don't know. It happened before to me in GT4, so I first thought I just think that's what happened.
All right, so the big move of the race, in my opinion, for you is going to be the battle off pit road and the battle on and through pit road. Talk us through that battle off of pit road. What happened there, and how did you get the advantage?
Well, I think I underfueled a little bit, so that probably helped. And then I guess the guy in second place, I think he was slow off the pit limiter, it would seem to me. And I just managed to take advantage of that and get the P1.
Well, it was a great job overall. So when you look ahead in the schedule, we know there's, of course, still 8 more weeks remaining. What tracks stand out to you as your favorites?
I honestly have no idea what's next. I have to look at it again because I'm doing 2 series, and then I try to focus more on the GTP since the setters are open and you got to work more there. So right. I honestly have no idea what's next. What is next?
We'd have to take a look. I believe Zandvoort will be next week.
I think that's fun. Overtaking is probably going to be difficult, but with the new layout, the banking, it seems fun. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And just thanks to my teammates, Frankie and Jerome and all the guys for support.
Listen, great job on a P1 tonight. Anyone you want to say hello to or thank you to before we let you go?
Yeah, Frankie for an awesome job getting P3 his first race, and Jerome, the team boss, and Ryan O'Connor, all those boys probably watching. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And our sponsors, of course.
And the sponsors, of course, that's an important one. Well, listen, great job on P1 tonight, and I guess we'll see you next week on Monday for the LMDH and LMP2 races.
Yeah, that's right. You guys have a good night. Thanks for the broadcast, and I'll see you later.
You're very welcome. Thank you. That's Michael Diaz. He finished P1 in tonight's race, and then Lorenzo going to catch up with P3 finisher. That's Frankie Arvello. Lorenzo, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Frankie, congratulations on that P3. Talk us through about this race. Not a lot of action for you uh, overall in the race so far. You kind of broke away from what would be the second group in P5 and backwards. But then again, getting rewarded with the issue of Moran, just spinning out with the contact with your teammate. But like, if we're comparing hindsight, not a great week last week, but this week I think you guys can celebrate a little bit within the team.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me here and for all the work you guys do. And yeah, I agree with you. Like I was like in limbo. I was nowhere, no man's land basically. For some reason, I couldn't find my pace. I was doing a lot of practice. I was on the high 44s, 44.7 ish. And my pace here disappeared for some reason. I think maybe it was the temperature on the track didn't help. On the getting out, I was lucky because Michael Dowden, I think he spin out right away, took advantage of that, and then I could capitalize a little bit, and then I saw the contact and Andrew spin off as well, and then I was like, okay, let's keep it real, let's try to, at least I don't have any pace, let's try to keep it as consistent as possible to at least get a podium for the team.
No, absolutely. And now that he has had P1, you have P3. The team is going to propel in points. Probably not going to get any close as they probably guys wanted to use Motorsports. Of course, they didn't have the race they wanted in this race for many different reasons. But now moving forward, you have two more tracks in terms of high downforce before you guys get into Suzuka, which is still a high downforce track of sorts, but it's medium to high downforce. How do you negotiate Zandvoort, which is a track that, in a sense, does share a lot of similarities despite being slightly more flat than Hungaroring is?
That's a good question. As of Zandvoort, I think I'm gonna have a little bit of a hard time because I never raced in Zandvoort in this simulator before. I've done it in Formula One, but never here. I hope the pace that I had in Formula One in that track is gonna be good. It's gonna translate here, but we'll see how it goes. And as of Suzuka, I am way more familiar with it. I actually raced on a couple weeks ago when they had on a previous season, and I actually did really good. So I think I'm gonna do fine here. There in Suzuka. So we shall see. I gotta keep up. I gotta keep up the pace to help Michael and the team to take on the other teams.
Absolutely. Just to let you know, you still have Lime Rock in between, but anyway, still a lot of a challenge moving forward. But Frankie, again, congratulations at P3. Enjoy your break, and we'll see you next Thursday for more Formula D action rather at the Dutch track.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
All right, that is Frankie Arvello. He finished P3. Quickly, we're going to catch up with our P2 driver before we head over to our F3 action. Jake Vasconcelos, welcome in. P2 tonight. What do you think happened out there on pit road? Was it just a little bit slower off the pit limiter, or what happened to you?
Yeah, I didn't disengage the limiter. I thought it wasn't on, so I lifted at the end of the pits, and then I gunned it and realized it was still on, and still kicking myself for that.
Yeah, tough moment there, but a great race overall. So you were behind it. I'm going to ask your perspective. What do you think happened, or what was your view of what happened between Diaz and your teammate there early in the race?
Definitely a racing incident. I mean, they were both kind of trying to squeeze each other a little bit, and it just got a little too close. They were side by side for quite a while there. So just luck of the draw.
Yeah, bad luck of the draw. That's what it really was. But overall, a very solid P2 night. Of course, next week we go to Zandvoort, and before hitting other tracks such as the Glen, Spa, Nürburgring towards the end of the schedule, what tracks are you most looking forward to?
Definitely, I think Spa is one of my stronger tracks. But yeah, I mean, half of them I don't really know, honestly. So I seem to do better on tracks that I just learned for the first time. I guess no bad habits.
Yeah, you don't quite know what you don't know yet, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, listen, overall, a very good run tonight. Solid P2. Anyone you want to say hello to or thank you to before we let you go?
Yeah. Hey, Courtney.
There you go. Well, hello, Courtney. Indeed. Jake, listen, great run P2 tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Aquaman, thanks.
All right, thank you. Well, that rounds up our interviews as a result of our Formula D coverage here, Lorenzo. And now, if you thought there were twists and turns and uphills and downhills before, well, next week we will move on here. And next race, we're going to move on to Bathurst, Mount Panorama. So, of course, this is Hungaroring. This is where we were currently. This is today's race. Thank you for watching and for this race, but we're not done. So now we move on to Bathurst. And that's where we're headed right now. So stick right here. We're not going anywhere. There's no split stream. There's no nothing else. Look at that long straightaway, Lorenzo. Plenty of passing opportunities in the F3 car, right?
No, absolutely. You just go around turn number 1 all the way down to that is a shot of the Conrad straight, rather than turn number 1 itself. Wait, actually, no, scratch that. That is turn number 2. That is that is mountain straight leading into mountain corner, carrying you up to the quarry. So one of the most legendary tracks in the whole calendar, regardless of what kind of racing that you do. We're approaching the month of October, so always provides you some good racing in the Bathurst 1000 that is going to come really soon. So looking forward to see these F3 cars handle the mountain, which is, for those who are not used to, they do tackle something that is quite similar. It's not from the C or F3 cars, whatever you want to call it, but it's more like the Super Formula 5000, which is still high power, but is of course not on the same level of these cars, but provides great racing nevertheless.
Right, and as you said, this track, while not yet in real life, has the Bathurst 1000 happened. In the iRacing world, it happened last weekend, so some of these drivers may have some experience here, and of course we do the 12 hours of Bathurst every year in right around the month of March in iRacing, so this track is one you're probably familiar with if you've been on iRacing for more than a month or so. It feels like we're always here. This place in Spa, I just have the rooms booked in the broadcast booth because of how often we're here, Lorenzo.
No, I always love me some Bathurst. It's one of my favorite tracks to drive, but I have a G27, a G29 actually. And to drive with a entry level, we always a little bit more complicated. You need skills, and let's just say commentators that usually don't have skills. So
sometimes we'll find out in a couple months, right? We'll be doing the
yes. Oh, I gotta get my revenge. Like last commentators, the commentators race that I've done was, appalling. My performance was appalling. My only good race that was meant to be, then it came to be, which was the oval race. After that, I just plummeted. So I need to get back into the good shape. So I got to prove myself that I've won championships before, and I'm not a pleb, even though I do consider myself a pleb nowadays.
Well, speaking of not a pleb, look at that big winding corner we just had right there. That's how challenging this track is. These guys are going to tackle this for more than a half hour at a time here. So this is the schedule here for the Formula Series, or F3s, whatever you want to call them. Last week we did Suzuka. Now we'll do Mount Panorama. Next week will be Road Atlanta. That'll match up with the Petite Le Mans schedule. Then Red Bull Ring, Aragon, Virginia VIR, the Circuit Gale Vid. I say that one wrong. You can say that one for you. Go ahead, Lorenzo.
Gilles Villeneuve.
There it is. I'm not classy enough to say that one. Sebring, Belle Isle, and then Watkins Glen with the boot will round out this schedule. We'll go all the way through American Thanksgiving before we're done. David Holland does have your points lead here by 3 points over Alessandro Di Tullio. Greg Seitz and Mackenzie Rune are top 4. Julio Palacio, last season's top performer in P5. Daniel Cranefuss, Stephen Verity, Andrew Hardman, Alexander Rivera, and Tommy Brisson round out your top 10. And then quickly, let's look at the team points. Delta Sports up in first, but right behind them, Rust Racing Iron, 6 points back. SRTE Blue, Atomic Racing, Yellow Stripe SimSport, Rust Racing Oxide, Evolve Motorsports, SRTE White, Optic DS, and then Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports rounds out your top 10. There you go. There's a look at your points for both the drivers and the teams for this series. Let's take a look on track here and see how qualifying is going. We'll wrap it back over there in a second. There we go. Keep an eye. We'll wait for our ticker to appear on the top left of your screen in just a moment. But man, this track, there's David Holland. He's currently up in first place. Look at this beautiful drone shot, how windy that corner is. He currently has the pole to 156.692, Lorenzo, with about a little under 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, just coming through Forest Elbow right there, and you can see the commitment out of David Holland. You know, it's just insanity. You come from Skyline, and I was actually looking online a few weeks back from whenever Joshua Rogers was tackling the Porsche Cup, whenever the Bathurst 12 Hours, when you used to have as a special event, and iRacing counted with the Porsche Cup, and he was basically nearly grinding the wall, you know, or touching the wall, making the wall his best friend. Even though you would get car contacts, you would get wall contacts with it, and that would invalidate your lap. But it was so on the limit. And if you really want to get a really good lap, you have to be on the limit on this track every single time. And that second sector, when you come out of the, you know, just through the quarry and go, like, basically go through Reed Park, Frog Hollow, Samhain, McPhillamy, and you go all the way down the hill to the third sector is where you gain a lot of time. And if you commit and you survive the downhill, that's where you know you have a really good run or not.
I think the key for tonight's race that you just said, if you survive, that's the key to this race. No matter if you're racing Formula C's, GT3s, V8 supercars, MX5s, it doesn't matter. If you survive, there should be like a placard somewhere on this track that says those words, if you survive, ... because that is the key to this race. This race will likely have a little bit of attrition to it, I would guess. And we'll see. Here's Adam Kolsar, one of our newer drivers that I can recall. He's currently running P11, turned to 157.742 last time around here. So we'll come around towards the end of the track here. About a minute and a half of qualifying, so most drivers will get one more lap in roughly before we call it quits. So last track, you noted there were a couple corners where they could gain time and speed. Where are those corners at Bathurst where you can gain the most time in a qualifying run?
Ironically, it's this turn number 1. You can, if you don't take like Hell Corner, which is turn 1, appropriately. It's like you break around the 50-meter board. You have to carry as much speed as you can, kind of clip the inside portion of the curb into the entry of Hell Corner. If you survive that is already half of the part of the way done. But gain time is in the mountain. All the gains and losses are done in the mountain, especially when you go through Skyline, because some people like to take it safe, and that taking it safe can take basically half a second of your lap. And I'm not even lying. It's like it's what separates great drivers from good drivers, or men from boys. So if you ford that thing down and you make it, and you think, oh, my best lap can be like a 156 mid like David Holland is, then you know you really set a really good lap best. Now Sights is probably going to invalidate his run, because I think he got flipped the grass not a few moments ago, and that invalidated his run.
You know, and that's sort of one of the running, jokes or memes about iRacing and Bathurst is more times than not, if you get an off track and you invalidate a run and you did not kill your car, it's almost an award here, because most places you can get an off track here, there's not a whole lot of space to save the car before you find a wall. This isn't like, some of our wider tracks like a Spa or a Le Mans, where you can, get off track and get it saved. Usually if you get off track here, you have much bigger problems than just a 1X.
No. Here is...
Oh, wow. Look at that slide. That's Kevin San Diego.
Yeah, we were wondering where in the world is San Diego. We found him, and unfortunately...
Whoa. According to the rule of Justin Prince, if you're going to say it, you got to sing it, buddy.
Oh my God, where in the world is San Diego? Well, we found him, and he's not having a really good moment.
Shout out to broadcast partner Justin Prince. He'll be happy to hear that someone sang the song this week. Checkered flag is out, so the last runs are underway here. This is Alex Court trying to best a 157.950. He'll come to the last corner, and I don't think he's going to best that. Let's find out here. Nope. Going to be a little slower. Actually, no, he beat it by just a smidgen, I think. From a 950 to a 944. Prove me wrong. There's Chinsky. Oh, wow, he just got it out of the last corner and ate a wall. That'll invalidate that run.
Even if you could get a run in the first place.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's everybody. So let's go ahead and wait for our grid to load. And for one more time tonight, we'll take a look at our starting grid here on RaceSpotTV. Wait a moment for the results to load into the system so we can get them loaded up for you. I want to say once again, thanks for hanging out, watching along here tonight on RaceSpotTV. And Joey Haynes, 23rd and 24th. And I think that is going to be to round out. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Tommy Brisson and Steven Ritters, 25, 26. Joshua Chinsky, who we saw there at the end, is 27, with Michael Belais, and then Manuel Vargas and Blake. Cars on this racetrack.
Don't give me numbers. I'm starting to get scared.
Right? That's a lot of cars.
Very scared.
Speaking of reasons not to be scared, any moment now, the lights will go green and the cars will start moving. Here at Bathurst, the Precision Racing League will go green with the Formula C Series, and that green flag will happen right about... My timing is horrible here, but we'll get it. There we go. Oh, we still have more to grid. I'm sorry. I thought we were looking at the front of the field there. No, there's a whole grid up here waiting on us here. Never mind. We're going to be a minute.
Like?
Of course, as you mentioned and as I mentioned, the key to victory here tonight is survival, right?
Yeah, survival and actually more survival within the first 3-4 laps. If you survive
we have
3-4
I'm
laps,
sorry.
then you're okay.
So say we have a lot of drivers missing from the grid, but I think they're starting to show up here. That's a big gap. That's P1 to like P7. There they come. Now everyone's ready. They want to get their last second sips of water and stretches in. But they only have about 2 minutes here to grid before the system will just put the green flag out. There's a few cars missing here, so we'll wait and see what happens. But
They're being smart. It's like they're trying to be street smart because there's one thing that not many people know, and I'll tell you once that we actually get the green flag.
all right, well, we'll look forward to that. That's called a teaser in the industry, ladies and gentlemen. What Lorenzo Bonder just dropped on you there. There you go. Green flag is out. A couple drivers missing off the grid, but here we go regardless. And we are live here on RaceSpotTV at Bathurst, all the way down through turn number 1. The most I see.
No.
Oh, too wide, little bit of spin. Oh, big.
Oh,
2,
no.
3,
Oh,
4, 5, 6,
no.
8, 9. Maybe cars wrapped up there in turn number 1 in the back of the field. I'm interested to see what happened there, but at the front of the field, we're pretty much clean and green here down this long straightaway.
Now we're going through Quarry Corner, and this, not Quarry, but this is Griffin's Bend. So everybody going to turn number 2. This is where the car can get very, very loose. But now we're getting to the mountain, ladies and gentlemen. Hold your breath and get really chaotic.
That's right. The reason you got to hold your breath is even if you're a driver, what happens in the mountain, you may not see it until it's too late with how much this mountain goes up and down and up and down. But so far, except for that wreck back in turn 1, we'll take a look at, all is good. And David Holland is leading here at Bathurst right now. I've got about a 2/3 of a second lead here. Trying to pull away from it here. Wow, look at how close they get to those walls, Lorenzo.
Well, like I say, commitment, bro. You have to stay in line, whatever you're gonna do in the entire time. But good job from Connor, to not distance himself away. Now they're down Forest Elbow, going to Conrad. Now Connor is gonna have the advantage, of riding the tail a little bit. Can brake a little bit later, coming into the chase. So I'm looking forward to see what the Delta Sport drivers are looking forward to do as they approach the chase. Does Connor goes closer, kind of breaks away a little bit, but Holland, what a perfect first lap for him, and that's what you want, from a championship leading driver.
What you want, indeed. You're exactly correct. On the right side of your screen towards the bottom, you'll see the drivers' names on the bottom who are currently pitting or had to pit due to that incident here, right here, 1 lap ago. Still waiting for the replay machine to load it up here, but right now everyone's pretty single file down the straightaway. Everyone's just going to sit in line and wait for their moment. The top 5 being Holland, Wagner, Seitz, San Diego, and Dutolio to round out your top 5.
Yeah, looking a little bit at the back from what it looks like, I think that is look like to be Mark McDonald trying to defend. But let's look on the replay here.
I'm excited. Where's Brett Thurman? We're gonna see one car spun to the inside and just tried to get across the track out of the way. And that's a turtle. That is not the right way that car's supposed to be. But wow, that was a big wreck there. Looks like Brett Thurman tried to get over the track out of the way and sort of put himself in the way in the process, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I know somewhere back in Hungary, Delana must be appreciating this.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a much more massive wreck than what he went through. So now the highlight is off of him. But here we continue on lap 2 at Bathurst. We'll do either 22 laps or we'll have a timer. Now, typically in this series, we do get the lap count done before the clock runs out, but we'll wait and see what happens. Let's watch this replay again. Here's Thurman. That's been that car now to your screen right in front. Just spun it and just backed it across the track. And go ahead.
If in doubt, flat out. Nicely done, Ridgeway.
Yeah, beautiful job by Ridgeway. Got all the way wide and just avoided it, but that was unfortunate for everyone behind. They slammed on the brakes to avoid that car going across the track and just kind of ran over each other. Well, here's the end of the second lap, and nothing has changed as far as who's in the lead. But look at that. There's a new fastest lap on the board that belongs to P2. So he is going to slowly run down P1. Now, here's our first opportunity already because of those damaged cars, about, a quarter of a straightaway ahead. David Holland will catch the first of those back markers.
Yeah, and this is where it can get a little bit dangerous for him. So looking forward to see what Holland's going to do as now Seitz, an individual that is like preeminent in like open wheelers, these like tiny low power open wheelers. He drives everything. He used to drive from Renault's back in the old days. So Savon in these low-powered cars. As Alex Gordon having a massive issue from what it looks like, dropping several spots. But you got to give respect for him, to be within this big sandwich of Delta Sport drivers in between them.
Yep, sandwich indeed right there, and wants to get out of there and just race his own race. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, Bathurst is bringing me back some memories.
Now, the question is, are those memories good memories or bad memories? Because we all have both memories of this track.
No, actually, it's a really good. It's a good memory. I'll let you know in a little bit. Sides have to fend off from San Diego.
There it is. There's a pass side by side. San Diego will have the advantage here through the corner. Oh, man. Sent it in pretty deep to make that pass, in fact.
Yeah, because going through the chase, you kind of have to go for a deep braking zone. Kind of like you think you would believe overcommit towards the braking zone. And Size kind of like didn't make it easy. So he put some effort for San Diego to make that overtaking. Now Delta Sport 1, 2, 3. But at the same time, Mitchell Ian Green, which Size's teammate, in the team makes the overtake on DiTulio, and now it's chasing him. Now the hunter becomes hunted as now Sights chasing San Diego.
And so again, side by side. This time, I'm going to go start up the mountain track, is in where that will happen. We'll see them backed off here and decide that side by side is not the best way to get through the mountain. Some of these corners are so tight up against the wall that you don't want to be side by side because, well, there's not enough space for that, honestly, to be side by side and get up these corners at a safe pace. Of course, remember this track is down in Australia, so everything's kind of reversed right now. You know, we're basically entering, you know, our fall or not too far from our winter months here in the United States and in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's almost summertime in Australia, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think they're going to enjoy some good weather. You know, just about like 35, 36-ish degrees or something like that. So I think they're very appreciative of what they have in hand moving forward.
In fact, if we can we? I don't know if we can see you.
I wish that David Haynes could give us a weather report.
Wouldn't that be nice? But let's see if we can. Let's see if we have our RaceSpot overlays live. Let's see if we can get a weather report in a second from our RaceSpot overlays, and we'll see if we can find a track temperature here in a moment. There it is. Look at that on demand, even in Fahrenheit for us Americans. 108 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 108 degrees. That's like glazed donuts per bald eagle is what that stands for. I don't know if you know that or not, but that's what that stands for.
I never heard that term before.
Oh, hello. Well, speaking of hot moments right there, that's one for Steven Larkamp from Pennsylvania. He got it wide there out of that corner. I don't think he got any help, but it just slid and snapped to the left all of a sudden. All looks to be good. Safe rejoin here. Oh, wow, 3 wide.
Yeah, survived things from what it looks like on that Alcantech car. If he's still driving for that Alcantech, the delivery looks like to be Alcantech.
So a very hot track. It can't get hotter than this at this track. I've raced this track when it's been hotter, but 108 degrees is still a pretty hot, slick track for these cars. So no extra grip allowed.
I've driven hot, much hotter than that. Grab São Paulo, grab Interlagos, and grab in the middle of the summer. Check how much of the weather it will be.
Yeah, it can be a lot. I've seen a bunch of tracks in iRacing hotter, but that still doesn't make it.
Take a wild guess.
Oh, at least probably 120 Fahrenheit. I've seen 120 at some of our tracks that we do in the summer. So
that is basic 170.
Ooh, that is hot. All right, well, here we go. Lap 5 is underway here. David Holland still is your leader and now has also claimed the fastest lap. He is trying to make a perfect sweep of this night, Lorenzo, by taking all the points. The leader, the fastest lap, the pole, whatever else he can think of. He wants to claim all those bonus points.
The Grand Slam?
Yeah, right. The Grand Slam, the Grand Poobah, all the marbles, whatever other cliche you want to use in the broadcasting world.
Yeah, but yeah, Holland is just dominating this race ball. If there's one thing that all Delta Sport team basically can do is they've been masters of the art within these low power cars. You know, I've seen them drive pretty much everything, but for some reason they are massive standouts within the Formula C, Formula D cars, but mainly Formula C, especially I would say in the last 3. I'm trying to remember whenever this car actually came into iRacing. I think that was 2019. But Delta Sport has been since 2021-ish with their current lineup. So it's insane the dominance they've had in with this car over the years.
And dominance indeed is. And anytime you see dominance from anyone, it can be awesome to watch and just fun to watch. But speaking of fun, look at these guys getting up the hill here. See two teammates nose to tail right here. The confidence they have in each other not to run one another over is also impressive to see. So we're going to watch it come around here. All right, so in your mind, Lorenzo, as we get through Bathurst, we're working lap 6 of 22. We talked earlier about what's the best place to make up time. What's the most dangerous part of the track, in your opinion?
This part, actually, our producer said the first elbow. I kind of agree with them.
So what makes it so dangerous?
I want to say everywhere, to be very honest with you, is because I have a trauma with Mount Panorama. But Forest Elbow is quite dangerous because you already coming out of sequence of corners. Oh no.
Is was cutting the grass there. I think it was the Tulio. Just kind of picked up a side gig, mowing some lawns for money, it looked like. He just wanted to pick up a side gig here.
Yeah, weird. Weird to say the very least. But coming back to Forest Elbow, reason why it's kind of simple, because you're already going through the compression of, putting your car, actually going to sections of where you're compressing the car, you're changing directions pretty much quickly, you're still going downhill, the car is light, it's very easy for you to miss the braking. We're going to look on the replay to what happened to the Tulio, and I'll get back to my point. But I'm 100% sure.
Probably going to brakes a little late here. Yep, it's going to brakes a little late and decided to save the car and not be dangerous with it. Good save there overall by the Tulio.
Yeah, just get some grass and things like that. We're still looking, it's still replay. We're gonna get back into live pictures.
We are live right here, I believe. Yeah.
No, we are.
There we go. Sorry.
Now. Yep. But coming back, and I'll give a perfect example. We're still with the Tulio. Now you come to Skyline. You're already starting to think about compression. So you go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, and then you exit up Forest Elbow is left. So you're stressing the car way too much, and you have to count the downforce. This car is not easy braking. It can lock the brakes, and not only that, you have to commit for a kind of like a mid-late apex to Forest Elbow. Ensure that the car does not over-rotate or not under-rotate. That will make the car, go to the outside, and if it goes to the outside, it can cause some damage if you hit the Forest Elbow's corner.
So here we see a battle for 7th. This is Milwain, Leong, and Rune. 7th, 8th, and 9th is what we're watching here. That's Ozzy and Milwain, a veteran of the series, getting around there.
Yeah. And Leong nearly lost the position to Rune, but I think Rune was very patient on the braking and didn't want to go from it. Smoke coming out in front. Green having an issue.
Yep. Now I'm going to throw a really odd, possibly hot take at you. We were talking about what you think the most dangerous spot of the track is. I do think the most dangerous spot is the chase, believe it or not. Because it's that moment where you think as a driver, okay, I can breathe. I have a moment. You kind of relax a little bit. You kind of start talking to your team about, hey, here's how the lap went, or here's what adjustments we need to make. And then, oh, hold on a second. Sorry, that's Mitchell Ian Green. That's the smoke you saw. I want to cover that real quick. But that chase, though, because it's a moment to relax and to start talking and to kind of, you could lose focus there pretty quickly. I've seen a driver miss that corner and do a lot worse than what the Tulio did a couple moments ago.
No, yeah, but I don't say the chase is the worst part. It obviously is where, like, if you're overtaking people, it's where the most accident-prone corner will be, because you're coming at top speed. It's basically a right-hand kink, downhill, slightly downhill, and the corner is kind of like nearly 90 degrees to the left-hand side, and it opens up to the right hand and is slightly off, also off cambered, coming out of the corner. So it is the worst part of the track if you try to go side by side, because the car on the inside washes out. So I agree, being the dangerous can be the most I'm trying to find a better word. the one that gives the most contact, race ending context, where you have the most incidents, can have the most incidents. There you go, found the word. But I don't think it is the hardest per se for you to drive on.
That's fair. I can respect that. Speaking of close, though, there's some great close battles happening here on track. We're talking about this beautiful track. Now, here's Leung and Mitchell Ian Green. Of course, Ian Green back here due to that spin on the front straight the last time by. Now trying to run down that red car and see if he can get there. There's a beautiful line of cars here, all kind of waiting to make their moment. Of course, we are almost about halfway through, so you got to think now that question of pit stops will start to come into the head. Here's Ian Greeno now going to try to pull out a line and make the pass really close, and is going to complete it there on Leung.
Yeah, good move. Leung actually tried his best, but Green, just playing the patient, reward the mountain straight and go to Griffin's, commit himself. One thing you really don't want to be defending is through Griffin's, where the car can, just you're going uphill and it is, and the exit, can basically load the rear quad up a lot. So you don't want to fight way too much. Just survive and make sure you're all good until the end of the race, where you can fight more for considerable positions.
I think there's a point that a lot of drivers, and it's easy to lose track of inside the car, and it's why you need a crew chief or a spotter or a car chief with you if possible to kind of talk you through it. Sometimes there's a phrase we use in team racing when I team race, which is we say, what's more important, being right or having a clean race car? And those are not always the same thing. You could say that Leung could have kept racing hard. We'll come back to that in a second. Here's James Carter. Look at that. It's so hot there where Carter is. He just has a fan blowing on him to keep him cool. Look at that. Do you get hot like that when you race, Lorenzo?
No, I never get hot. No, I'm
Really?
lying. I'm lying.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, look at that. So you even got the little red cross on it.
No, yeah. That is his lifesaver. So
I know it's mine. When I race, I pour buckets of sweat during endurance racing. So I get it.
Let me just hold up. Is that an advanced racing seat as he's sitting on? Most likely it could be.
That's a good sponsor plug there, Lorenzo. You're getting in the business pretty good here.
I think it is. If it is, I'm just getting that shameless plug, sponsor. So, yeah, it is an advanced sim racing seat. I was just looking at. There you go. So putting a shameless plug. Now they gotta give me a seat.
There you go. That's how it works, apparently. Here's the battle for 14th. This is going to be Broomhead and Bartland back here for 14th and 15th. This is pretty far on back in the field, but they're still battling. And, of course, as you said earlier during the last race, every point matters here in the Precision Racing League. So it doesn't matter if you're 14th, 4th, 3rd, or whatever. You want to fight for every spot and every point.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always gonna fight hard. And the worst of it all is just like you go into a track like this and you think, oh no, please.
No, hold on. Keep it on the wall. Lorenzo's nervous, folks, because that is a horrible spot for a car to be spun around, because it is hard to see it when you're coming up the hill right there. And we're gonna have to go back to that car in a second. Yeah, we'll see if we can get back there. But
luckily for Rivera,
hold on, another one. Oh, that's two cars right there. That's some big damage.
That is our battle.
That was our battle.
Yeah, Broomhead not having the best of days. Certainly, his head is slightly gone on the front.
Broomhead unfortunately got swept up in that corner and really gonna have some damage here.
Now I think kind of proves Raph's point right in mine's as well.
Yeah, one for you guys, right? That's the most dangerous corner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like of all incidents I've seen at the Forest Elbow, there never been the most gallant. I'm trying to find, beautiful.
So there's a first car in pit road. That is not a scheduled stop due to the damage we saw, but it is about halfway. So if the damage isn't that bad, the good news for him is it's going to happen in an area where he can get gas here and go and be okay. But here's David Holland, the back of the front of the field, has opened that gap up to about 1.2 seconds over second place, which is Wagner. and is having a good run here for Delta Sports in this 28 machine.
I didn't even realize what happened to Mackenzie Rune. He was just right behind Leo Lung a few laps back in 9th place, and I see him now drop out. I just saw, like, at the glint of my eye, I think his name at the back of the board, as we're gonna look what happened again with Broomhead. But first, Rivera.
This will be the first one. And luckily, as far as I can tell, he got that parked on the wall, and nothing else happened there. That's impressive. First off.
No, absolutely. That is outstanding. And they also at the end of the day could have won
there it is.
Here it goes.
And luckily for these guys, all things considered, not that you want to have an incident, but once again, only 2 cars. You and I have seen much bigger wrecks in those corners than 2 cars.
Oh yeah, I've seen basically half a grid, like, of the official series out. That's the thing that looks like to be, if it is followed by sites, that is San Diego coming in for his pit stop, right on schedule. I believe, as we know, these Formula C cars can only operate for 11-12 laps in total in the official series. So
San Diego will be one of the, yeah, almost like you forgot his first pit stop right there, Lorenzo. He kind of pulled in early and then, oh, that's not me, and then pulled back out. But this would be one of our first scheduled pit stops. The ones we've seen before, probably mostly due to damage and whatnot. 4.9 in the box is all it took to put gas in the car, and he is off and away here, and good, likely for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about given the fact that this is probably one of the most complicated pit stops for you to get in. You know, it's basically a chicane, and as you really want to cut down time, some drivers nearly floor that thing and try to stay in line the best way they can go with the corner, and try to make best time loss out of it. Even though the pit lane itself, I think, is one of the slowest.
Look at this, by the way. Look how close this is. Ian Green here. Just I don't know what term you guys use in other countries. In the States, we call this tailgating. What happens if it's on the highway? This is tailgating the driver in front of him. Just a little too close for comfort. Oh, a little smoke. And he backed off. He thought, you know what? I'm good. And it's backed off now a little bit.
From Millway. Like I said before, you're coming out and you're always kind of compressing the car a little bit. If this is on the GT, it's a little bit easier, but you're coming out, with these open wheelers out, into places where it's always nearly bottoming out the floor of the car. So when you come into the braking and you have a lot of elevation changes, sudden elevation changes in a few set of corners, the front left most of the time will try to lock when you're coming out of the corner. Even if you try to press, I would say, well, what is the normal over here? About halfway into the brake itself, because if you push for more than that, it always locks. So this is why for drivers with entry wheels, it's probably the hardest work for you to deal with, but it teaches so much about braking. As now I think Green is going to overtake Millway on turn 2 going through Griffins.
There it is. That's the overtake you talked about. That's a great call. Green does get around Millway. This will be the battle for P5 and P6 you're seeing on screen right here. Of course, Racing Iron is the team that Ian Green is with. I love those names. I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of great team names out there, but the fact these guys have not gone colors, Lorenzo, they go is Iron and Oxide, and I don't know why that stands out to me so much, but I love those team names.
It's a good livery. I'm not gonna lie, and also their livery does resemble a little bit of what the Spitfire car is, as we're looking out into Julio Palacio in the SRT blue car. A driver that normally you would see at the forefront, maybe top 10, but seeing Palacio outside of the top 10, struggling, it's a little bit weird. But then again, I say, oh, it's Mount Panorama of all tracks.
But it didn't also have compared to what his normal is, didn't have the greatest of runs last week either. In the back of my head, I was just starting to ponder, this is maybe the story of the season so far is, as you said, Julio Palacio is a name you and I just expect to see in the top 5 of these races. He currently sits, I think, P15 before pit cycle started, which is underway, by the way. You see all the names moving across the left side of your screen. And here's Andrew Hardman right there. But Palacio back there in P15, that is maybe the surprise for me, that I haven't quite figured out in my head what's going on there yet.
No, it's just Mount Panorama is not the hardest track for you to drive. And it's on me saying, oh, Mount Panorama not hard enough. But it's probably one of the top 3 tracks in my point of view that is hardest for you to master. Because it is so, like I said before, the mountain has so much difficulty on mastering it that you have to go many stints for you to get that perfect run into it. So that's why I say it's not for the faint of heart. If you cannot get around with the terms of the car, and you're not used or familiar with a good setup that gives you grip and gives you stability through the mountain, it can be dangerous. They're going to clear themselves off of back marker, coming to Forest Elbow, both Holland and Wagner. Wagner going wide had to, I think, lift off a little bit of the gas to avoid the wall of the Forest Elbow.
Yeah, I was noticing the same thing. Like, he had to get a little off the gas there. It was either lift or be hit, and he decided to lift there. But you use all these words like dangerous and you know, whatnot in your commentary, and you're right about all of them. But speaking of dangerous, Lorenzo, we're going to wrap up another exciting week of PRL Racing Sunday night. You know what we're doing? We're taking the NASCAR, or we're taking the Cup cars to Talladega. Talk about dangerous, exciting, momentum, drafting, and everything. It'll all be there Sunday night. Chaos is another guru, right?
Well, yeah, and we know one thing's for sure.
We'll have a voice at the end of it.
Oh, that as well. So we have two.
2 things.
The second thing is when the big one will happen.
That's
There's
right,
always a
more
big
than
one
likely.
at Talladega.
Usually is. With David Holland here, along with others now, Wagner. Speaking of things that will always happen, they will be on pit road, and now is that time. Look at him pitting together, 1 and 2, and Holland now gets out first as well. What a surprise there. A quicker pit stop when he's led the whole time. You would think he would have burned a little bit more gas, but nope. Off he goes, and now the race is underway for the last 7-ish laps in this race here at Bathurst.
Oh, knowing Holland, he was lifted off them maybe at some parts where he can save fuel. And also, this is a track that most of the time you're pretty much full feet on the floor. So there is not a few saving as now. Green having issues with the Tullio. Good up and under for the Tullio to get 4th place.
Yep, nice pass indeed. Of course, Tullio had that moment over there in the chase earlier where he had to get wide in the grass to keep the car safe, but having a great run at it here. You see a couple more pit stops there in the bottom of your screen on the right, or middle of your screen there. A couple of last pit stop times are occurring, but for the most part, pit stops are basically done here. And Wagner once again has the fastest lap of the race. We're watching an incredible battle here. This is Ian Green and Tullio, I believe, so that's going to be in the car in front of him. And look at this. Watch. This is my favorite camera shot right here. This and the drones. You can see just how close they get up and down this mountain.
Yeah, slightly locked on the left, front of the Tullio, like I expected.
Here comes the pass. Now the problem is he's not going to have them. He's not going to have them. Well, let's see. Well, he will have the lead coming in. I thought he wouldn't get, but he's going to have not the correct lane, quote unquote, but he's going to give up and give it to him. He just backed out of it there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, but nearly caused contact between both of them.
Wow, that was close. You said that at the right time, because contact is almost what happened. Now down through the final corner to complete lap 16 here. And Ian Green will get past Tullio and will now be up to P5.
And Lung on the outside for P6.
P4, pardon me. So now a 3-car battle, and this is what happens when you get cars battling, is you allow the rest of the people behind you to catch up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, battling hard through the sequence of corners of the chase and everything, you know, just allows, you know, those behind you, if they're on a close gap, to try to fight back. And you can see even Lung trying to find for an opening right there, Derek, but could not find anything at all. The number 5 car, as he's probably waiting on the mistake of either driver, you know, just open up a lane and try to take advantage out of it for, you know, maybe go 2 for 1 or 1 position up, depending on the circumstances. But this is that moment of the Ian Green's nerves and also the Tulio need to be in check, because one mistake, you can not only lose 1 but 2 positions, and it's hard to catch back with less than 6 laps to go.
Oh yeah, if you make a mistake here, it'd be a hard time catching up here. Now, Ian Green is the one leading the field down through this mountain. And you know, for people who've never driven it before, maybe you're watching as you have a family member in the race or a friend and you're just watching along, the hardest part of this mountain in many respects is how blind it is when you're going up and down. Now we're down here in this long straightaway. It's easier, but maybe next time we can see it. When you're going up and down a mountain, even right here, if there's a wreck over top of this crest, you have no idea until you get there. And we're going to go down here into the chase. This is that strong left-hander. Leung does a great job.
I committed a sin.
Okay.
I spoke with my microphone.
Well, at least only you know you did it until you said otherwise. But you can see the hand movement here of Leung here. Watch this. We're going to stay here for a second and watch this hand movement as it was there. When you see someone moving their hand like that, does that mean he's having a good race, or is that too much hand movement for you?
No, I think it's a good thing. And now, because the Formula C car, the Zalara F312, as now we're gonna look the Tully on the outside. Griffin's been give you some grip on the outside, but that favors the green on the entry. Yeah, he defends his position so far. Good defense from Green right there. As they could become complicated as the Tully commits on the inside.
Wow, what a great moment here. We thought we'd see a pass here, and Ian Green's doing a great job at defending. Oh, hold on. How do you do that? How do you get in the grass at that part of the track and not wreck your car? Alessandro Di Tullio, you, sir, are my hero. How do you do that? I don't know.
That's what happens when you drive a lot of time that car.
That's what happens when you get a little bit lucky, because I don't know how you do it. Let's watch it again. There's no way you make this happen. He's going to get a little wide here on the side here. Oh, lost the car. He even lost the car and saved it. That man needs to go play the lottery, because that...
Car gets washed off because of, you know, the transition of the corners and the elevation change and all. Kind of scrapes the wall. Doesn't get front wing damage. That angle that I just got didn't play, you know.
I don't think he got any damage out of it. Looked like he just kind of... I don't know if he hit the wall. Yeah, if he did, he scraped it. That's a highlight reel moment right there. That's a that's an iRacing top 10 moment right there, in my opinion, because that was incredible.
Yeah, that is a good save. That is a good save if you ever want to call it one. Top 10. If he had done the overtake and then held it in on the outside and everything, then I would say,
wow, you're that one Olympic judge who scores really harshly, aren't you? You're that one guy who never gets a 10, aren't you? Yeah, that's you.
I am. Especially given the fact that a lot of the people don't like the new changes within the grass and the sand trap, as we have this at the back of the field, actually second half of the field, but a lot of the people cannot take the jump anymore. The jump is basically dead, so.
Oh,
a lot of people.
Speaking of grass, there's another trip through the grass, taking a shortcut there. You got to think that's one less spot for the groundskeeper tomorrow, right? That's just one less spot he's got to take care of, you think?
No, absolutely. But Desiree cannot complain. I was just looking into the biggest movers and downers of this field, you know, and Desiree had 16 laps up, so. Not 16 laps, 16 positions up. Why I didn't mention laps, I don't know. Well, anyways, 3:20 a.m. over here in Portugal, but you know, 16 positions up, it's something.
That is a great run. Yeah, 16 spots up is a great run. But speaking of laps, they are winding down for Connor Wagner, and what's winding up is that gap between him and first place. It is now at 1.2 to 1.3 seconds, depending upon when you peek over there at that ticker on the left side of your screen.
Yeah, no. But I don't think Wagner is going to battle himself way too much or be concerned over way too much of battling against Holland. I think he knows. Try to give Holland as much cushion he can on the competition. He's going to break away in this race. So we're going to look at the replay now from the angle of the Tudor car getting washed out.
Look at this right there. That's that hand movement. That's how you know it's dangerous. You don't ever want to turn your hands like that up in the mountain. And no, you're right. He does scrape the wall. Dude, that, I don't care. New grass, old grass, ice, snow, whatever you got. How you do that and you don't end up with that car turned around, that deserves a medal in my book.
No, not only that, but he got really lucky.
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, a normal hit with that thing, like, I think had he had more angle to the inside, that probably would have been a suspension damage, and that would end the race with the Tullio. But somehow, some way, he survived that ordeal. As now Graf is able to break away from Brisson in the East Motorsport car a little bit, so it's gonna breathe easy, that number 25 car, after the pass he made on the entry of the corner, going through the cutting. But so far, so good for the that number 25 car. That looks like to have a little bit of an Alex Ribeiro livery back when he used to drive in Indy cars back in like 1995, 1996.
Yep, over time throughout iRacing, you'll see a lot of liveries you can kind of trace back to some.
RaceSpot sticker on the side, though.
I don't think they did back in 95 or 96. I'm not going to judge him for that, but
oh, he does.
Throughout time, you'll see lots of cars on iRacing that sort of mimic or pay tribute to real life schemes. It's always a cool moment to see when those happen. But here we are, about 3.5 laps left. And that battle up front is not changing. This is Mitchell Ian Green right here, holding on to a nice, comfortable lead for the moment over the Tullio. This is about a 1.5 second gap right here, I believe.
Yeah, but that plummeted in the last few laps. So Ian Green is going to be in a world of trouble really soon. What kind of widening the gap is Tullio to lengths after the Tullio made the overtake on the number 5 car. Nearly a full sec separates the Delta Sport driver to the number 5 driver. So good recovery for the Tullio as he's staying second in the championship, but he's going to see that gap widen up drastically as the Tullio goes wide into Griffin's Bend, but somehow survives the ordeal, having to lift off the gas a little bit and let the off-camber just sticking true and regain speed.
Ian Green will open that gap a little bit more and feel a little bit more comfortable here with about 2.5-ish laps to go here. Some great battles going on across the track. We'll try to catch some of them, but we're watching what we can. This is Ian Green here, as he said, battling to Tullio. Now going to start their way almost down the mountain from this point here. There's that corner you talked about. I will come back to a different battle here on screen. This will be down the straightaway, heading towards the end of the track. Do want to point out, by the way, that Connor Wagner has taken the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah.
So he is trying to not let David Holland have that perfect day, but still nearly perfect for David Holland regardless. Now on the left side of your screen, you see all the ups arrows and down arrows. That's your biggest movers and shakers up and down. See lots of like plus 12 for Brisson, Jeff Groff plus 11, Ridgeway plus 11. So you see a lot there. Unfortunately, you still
minus 21.
Yeah, especially you'll see the drivers down there who are involved in the first lap wreck who are minus a lot of spots, unfortunately.
Yeah, but for now, I think, like I said before, biggest mover is this way. So, like, despite he losing the position, I think that was P17 to John Quinn, still the biggest mover in this race. Connor Wagner, well, still want to try to, win another championship. I think he already won the F3 the Formula C season. Huge season back. I think that was back like in 2022 or early 2023.
know what?
He did it in a dominating fashion.
Speaking of wanting to win, he is closing that gap, Lorenzo. He is not comfortable with the P2. That gap is now less than a second. Look at him running through this part of the downhill here and getting closer and closer to David Holland. We're about a lap and a half from being done, and he is not content. Look at this gap closing now down to 0.7 of a second. And maybe he was saving something here, as Connor Wagner's going to make a run at it now down this big long straightaway. And we'll get the final couple corners before we take the white flag from Barney the Flagman. Boy, oh boy, Connor Wagner's cut that gap down at about half of what it was since we were up here last. We'll see if he sends it in here to this corner. A little deep, got a little bit of a lead there, but you're right.
Got away unscathed. I think it comes down to the final corner. I think this lap comes to be a 150.
157.050. The white flag is out. This is our last time up and down the mountain of Mount Panorama for this race here on RaceSpotTV. This is the Precision Racing League Formula C Series, and Connor Wagner, he's got some dog left in him here. He is not going to let this go. He is running down David Holland and trying to make a battle of this. These next couple of corners are going to be crucial, Lorenzo.
Yeah, the mountain's going to be crucial for him to be with his teammate and then attempt anything for a final overtake through the chase. Looking forward to it. But just to bring you back really quickly, I mentioned about good memories. Is the memory of me and Nolan Rampel commentating a GT race, I think seasons back, as we see Larkham fighting against Brisson. Now, good movement from Larkham. And Nolan Rampel confusing if Porsche was actually an Italian or German brand.
Yeah, that quote is out there somewhere, and it will hold on.
No!
Oh no! Big wipe out there in the last corner. Now Manuel Vargas picked up 2 more spots here, and because of that moment, wow, that was a moment right there. That gap, by the way, for the front, it's safe. David Holland has opened it back up to more than double the gap now, so that's not a battle anymore. David Holland looks to be pretty safely your winner here. Not done yet, so don't want to curse it. But he definitely had a great run through the mountain. But you're right, that was a big wipe out there in the last corner, taking the white flag.
Yeah,
that has taken people off the board.
No, absolutely.
Here we go. Last corner. You can now breathe easy. And for this first time this season, David Holland will be a winner here in the Formula C Series at Mount Panorama. Congratulations to the number 28 driver. As he gets around here and celebrates and breathes easy, we'll take a look at some of the battles coming to the line here at Mount Panorama. We're not quite done yet. There we go. This is going to be a battle right here. This is just about the top of the mountain, I believe, starting to come down.
Yeah,
This is going to be Brisson and Larricamp, by the way. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And they got collected at basically at Murray's corner at the final corner, but unfortunately lost 1 spot. But more importantly, the Tullio lost 3 spots to Harmon and J.R. Williams. Lang is out of the race, so something happened in between them that caused some issues. Now here comes Larkamp.
Here comes the attempt of the pass. You're going to make what's going to be the turns right here. You're going to try one more undercut, but not going to get there, I don't think. It's going to be a pretty safe moment for this yellow and black car. Hold on. I may have spoken too soon. No, you're good. But that was a close battle here. You see Barney the Flagman top left of the screen. Go ahead, Lorenzo.
No, but I was going to say Larkamp trying to use his tactics whenever he used to do like racing back at Lionheart in the road courses to try to catch people off. But fortunately for Brisson, survived the ordeal of fending off Larkamp and Gaddy. Really good result right there at P13. I'm just looking. Brisson, of course, wanted a little bit more. Top 10 last race, but top 15 in this race, given all that has transpired, cannot complain one bit.
Now, cannot complain one bit. That's the number 50 machine right there, crossing the line. You see the checkered flag waving right above him. Going to go and pull off the side of the track here and get it slowed down and stopped. Wow, that went by quick. You see the mount panorama sign. By the way, David Holland on the last lap. We were so busy noting we didn't see it. He got the fastest lap on the last lap of the race, Lorenzo. Oh, there's that wreck from turn 1. All right, well, let's go ahead and get some interviews. Glorious for some, not so glorious for others. Well, listen, there's only one thing to do at this point. That's bring in David Holland. David, you are a winner at Bathurst. How do you feel?
I feel very mentally exhausted right now. That was the most tiring race mentally that I've done in a while. Connor had so much pace and was just pushing me the whole time. Yeah, he was basically within a tenth of getting the draft of the slipstream for essentially the whole race, and then we kind of traded little mistakes here and there. But yeah, we were pushing 100% that whole race. So yeah, happy to bring it home. I mean, at Bathurst, just bringing it home in one piece is a win, and I'll definitely take the points all here as well with it.
Well, listen, you had a great night. You got the points for the win. You got the points for the fastest lap. You got the points for the pole. By the way, the fastest lap, I'm not sure if you know this yet, you pulled off the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. That's when you claimed fastest lap. Before that, Connor was beating you for fastest lap.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of lap traffic, which happens at Bathurst, and so coming into the last lap, he was basically getting a little sniff of the slipstream, and so I basically tried to turn it on as much as I could with what I had left in me to make sure I kept him out of the slipstream coming onto the final straight, and yeah, on the low fuel, I'm sure that helped pick up the fastest lap, but I think me and Connor were basically pretty much even on pace.
Looks that way. Well, Lorenzo Bonder, you have a question for David. What do you got for him?
Yeah, no, David, you were battling against Connor the entire time. I think I've asked you this before. If I haven't, I'm probably going to ask this time. Back at the Delta Sport Camp, does Brian let you guys race for the victory if you guys ever have the opportunity to race for a victory? Or does Brian tell you guys years, I swear to God, don't break the car. If you guys go together and you guys break the car, I'll have your head.
Well, luckily he's not writing checks if we break these cars. So yeah, no, he lets us have fun and race hard. Additionally, that's what most people here on the team like to do, right? That's where the fun is in racing. And so, we race hard, but try to keep it clean, which we do with everyone else as well, on the team or not. So yeah, definitely no team orders and PRL. So it's just everything we have and trying to keep it clean.
Nice.
Well, what a great night for Delta Sport it was. You guys finished 1-2. Great job tonight. Anyone you want to say hello to or thank you to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll thank Connor Wagner for his setup. He builds all of our setups, and he also has a Patreon, so you guys can go and run the exact same setup we were running tonight. If you go and subscribe to his Patreon, all of his setups are over there. He does a great job building it and listening to our feedback and stuff. So, yeah, big thanks to him, and thanks to the team and you guys and PRL. Appreciate it, y'all.
Oh, yeah, we thank you and appreciate you for being here. We'll see you next week, and have a good night, David.
Yep, y'all too. See ya.
right, well, that, David, it was the only driver we were able to catch up with here tonight. But Lorenzo, that ends an exciting night of open wheel coverage here on RaceSpot. What's your big highlight here for the night?
You know, just basically the battle between the Tilio Leung right there. You know, that was a really good highlight for us. You know, David Holland just continuing his 2 for 2 so far in the PRL Formula C Championship. The resurgence of Conor Wagner now into the fray as well is going to become a prominent figure, you know, moving up the chains as the championship progresses. Probably going to be within the top 5, I expect, the next round. So, and like I said before, expect the Delta Sport domination. That thing, the Formula C cars has been going on since 2021, battling against Wave Italy. They're not here, but so they got to take the opportunity they can get of being the alpha team in the Formula C cars.
Well, an alpha team they were tonight, indeed. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. For our producer, Rafael Senke, for my partner tonight, Lorenzo Bonder, I am Derek Watson. We'll be back next week in these Formula C cars at Road Atlanta. That'll happen at the conclusion of the Formula D race. Do want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week here on RaceSpot TV.